Well, it's time to review some Rush. And what we're going to do first is we're going to check out the band. Rush made Beyond the Lighted Stage in 2010, the DVD, the movie. And things went through the roof for them. Here we are, 10 years on from the comeback album. The album recorded after the death of two important people. Very important. Supremely important in Neil Peart's life. And this album, Vapor Trails, in 2002 was the comeback after a period that lasted too long. It was really Test for Echo, the 16th Rush album, studio album, and subsequently the live album that came after it, different stages, the fourth official Rush live album, was all we heard from Rush until this album in 2002, Vapor Trails. And what do we have 10 years later? We have the masterpiece. After tributes like Red Star, a tribute to Rush, and everything from black metal, the meek shall not inherit the earth. Who wants to actually hear that? It's goofy. Anyway, we got the real item. Clockwork Angels. And Clockwork Angels is the awaited masterpiece. Beginning with Caravan. Caravan is a song that was a little clunky and industrial and mechanical at first in 2010 when it came out. I'm sorry, it seems longer than that actually, when the single came out with BU2B on the back, or digital. Those two songs are available, and it seemed like that's it. That's all we get. BU2B seemed pretty decent. Caravan, no. Now on this album we got them with strings, and they're sweeter. The mix on Getty's bass makes the roll of the bass, the strings, you can practically hear the bass line rolling along like thunder. Then the title track, Clockwork Angels. Absolutely surreal, ethereal, church-like. These are the priests of the temples of the Syrinx indeed. Many people will say it parallels to 2112 from 1976, their pinnacle album. This isn't it. It's nothing to do with it. But as we know, every album in their 20 album catalog, studio albums, there's pairs of everything. And everything gets paired off, whereas the 1981 Moving Pictures album it would not exist today if it hadn't been for Permanent Waves, which came before it. In the same way, 2112 would not exist without the much maligned but much loved by Rush fans Caress of Steel album in 1975, their third studio album. But the strange thing, there may be 20 studio albums and 10 real segments of their career. This is like in twos. they build their career, whether it's Signals, Grace Under Pressure, whether it's Presto from 1989 and Roll the Bones from 1991. The albums are built in pairs. But what preceded Clockwork Angels is the Snakes and Arrows album of 2007. And that album has very little to do with what we would hear here. It was dense, layered, songs were all over the place. Great Rush album, and actually the best of all possible albums at the time, to use the steampunkery imagery of the lyrics and lyrical bent that we hear now, thanks to Kevin J. Anderson novelizing this album, which is a major feat in itself, and then Rush having a string ensemble on the road with them with 8 players, violinist, cellist, a conductor. And then the 4th song comes along, and what is it? It's the Anarchist. At first, the Anarchist was not at first. Many times it took me to catch on to the Anarchist till it became my absolute favorite of the album, which is tough when there's so many great songs on this album. Yeah, there were albums like Roll the Bones in 1991 where tracks like Heresy and Erotica and You Bet Your Life and Face Up were, and even songs like Heresy and I think I just mentioned that, would make us think that, you know, here we have an album that's half okay and there's some tough songs here, but we love Rush, and when we hear albums as a total entity by Rush, they're usually always going to grow on us, and compared to other bands, they're the progressive metal founders and masters. They're prog rock's uber darlings. They would always come out on top. There's no comparison to Rush. Like Gene Simmons says, what is Rush? Rush! You know, something to that effect in his atypical New York way. Me too, I'm from New York. I guess that's not that far from Willowdale, Ontario, where these boys congealed. Now, then we come to Carney's, the 5th song. Another song that I said, I'm missing something when I first... The album blew by me the first 20 times. Carney's didn't catch on the most. And now Carney's is in concert. What a bang. The pyro and the techno, just from watching the opening night YouTube videos that were posted. It turns out that the meat of this album, the thick of it, is the best part. The halo effect is the obligatory love song. 7 Cities of Gold, another song that I said, I'm not going to like this. I'm not going to like this. Now it goes by. Sounds perfect. Then the Wreckers comes in with the most melodic possible Geddy Lee since his solo album in 2000. I'm sorry. My Favorite Headache, where he did the Angel Share. A beautiful song with plenty of melody, and here, 12 years later, I'm hearing the seeds that were germinated on Geddy's one and only solo LP. I got the digipack here from 2000, and My favorite headache. My favorite headache. So Geddy Lee really comes to the fore on this album and knows how to dominate. When you got a great drummer, beyond great, like from another planet, Neil Peart in the band, and the guitarist who is so funny and so creative, Alex Lifeson, Alexander Severjinovich on guitar, better known as Alex Lifeson. He's funny, he's a musical mad scientist, a great actor too. And if you see him play in Dexter's in his orbit room, and you watch him tear out leads with other groups, which this man can play. Why don't you check out Big Dirty Band and find out more sides of Rush that you might not know about. Dexter's Big Dirty Band, his solo album, Alex Lifeson, Victor from 1996, the same year Test for Echo came out, is an amazing album. Has a song at the end about a man whose lifelong partner dies. You know, the kind of marriages that used to exist where the couple was together for 50 years. You don't have that around today. And maybe we will. Maybe those couples will be still together. But in any case, it was a song at the end. Yeah, there's a song called In the End by Rush. But on that Victor album, At the End. In that album, the man raises the gun and shoots himself after his lifelong partner is deceased. And I know that Rush listened to each other's albums. You had Burning for Buddy. During the time of Rush's hiatus, you had Burning for Buddy, which I guess to say it again, but that was Neil Peart's little project there when he got into Buddy Rich and he wanted to expand on his abilities in the jazz realm. So what do we got here? Where am I up to? I'm up to the records. Just released as the third single. Second single was Headlong Flight, which blew everybody out of the water because it's undoubtedly, well, more about Headlong Flight as it comes up next. But this is where the album just nails it. You got the records. And then, with that supreme melodicism, deserves to be a single. And the second single, Headlong Flight, follows. Second single was released just before the album came out. What was it? June, July. And it is an amazing song, Headlong Flight. It's like a Bastille Day roller coaster ride. And what B2B2? It's a lament, and it's probably a song that would only be, it is only there, I'm sorry, is only there because it needs to be there to flesh out the story. Sort of like Halo Effect needs to be there, but Halo Effect is very enjoyable and on stage comes alive because it gets to feature the string ensemble as the band calms down and Alex Lifeson is just trots out the song and accompanied by strings. So B2B2 is an interlude, which leads into Wish Them Well, which is all that we can do is wish them well. And that song goes in 4/4 time, and you get on the snare bang, 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 bang. And the band has alluded to it sounded like Sly and the Family Stones. Dance to the music, dance to the music, something like that. And all that you can do is wish them well. Well, that's, to me, that kind of illusion uh, isn't the first thing that sprung to my mind, being the rock man that I am. And I'm so Rush crazy, if you doubt my sincerity in to do Rush reviews, well, I do a lot of rock journalism. And my magazine I did in 1985, I was trying to follow the heaviest, the craziest bands around, and the best in metal, the ones that were the heaviest. And then I got into finding everything I could find. This is Rush's The String Quartet Tribute to 2112, which is now very relevant considering there's another string ensemble thing on Rush's music. These are all tributes. And you got the rock tribute subdivisions. There's even one called Working Man, which was the first one in 1996. It's become a subgenre of Rushdom ever since. And I don't know, something like, I don't know, 17 tribute albums. There's even a electronic type of thing out with some numbers like 212 or something. And then there's now the Cyber Project tribute. There's the Lullaby tribute to Rush. I guess you could put the radio up to the radio. Listen to me. Still back in the dark ages. And you can put it up to the crib and get the baby started early on Rush music. So finally, let's get back to Clockwork Angels, which, as you notice, that's the wrong album I got in there. I got Test for Echo in there. An album that I listen to pretty frequently as it congeals as a whole really well. As that's what you get with Rush, you get a whole package. Every time you put an album on, you want to play the whole album. It just goes like that so well. Kind of like when you listen to Iron Maiden or Judas Priest or Black Sabbath. They go good as whole entities, full albums. And with Clockwork Angels, the last song, The Garden, a tearjerker. This isn't magical, this isn't tears, this isn't different strings, this is a full-blown, gigantic ballad where Alex rips out a solo at the end that is just use the biggest superlative words you can think of, and that'll describe it. Well, as a Rush fan who know that I am following a band, I just saw Rosh Hashanah on TV, even though they only repeated Beyond the Lighted Stage with the Retrospective 3 2009 DVD box set with a few extra videos, and for an hour. And what else did they do? They did a Time Machine tour, and they repeated over and over again for 24 hours, but it's still nice to see them up there on the TV set. Yeah, they should have their own channel on TV too, because there's Rush Radio on the internet. So there you have it. That's my review of Clockwork Angels by Rush. Rush have become and are my favorite band. And I wrote the Rush Trivia Quiz, which is an app put out by Apple, and it's available in the App Store. If you think you know Rush, well, try the quiz and try to beat the mysterious X3's score. I wonder who that is. So, rush on. Oh, and my rating of the album, out of 10, perfect 10. Because there's 12 songs, and 10 of them make the cut. Peace.